I know when you travel, oftentimes you give master classes if you
Hmm.
can, which is
Hmm.
fantastic. I'm curious as to your background in teaching, if you have any students now. I mean, I'm sure you're so
Yeah,
busy, so
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
it's difficult.
yeah.
But also just your general teaching philosophy.
That's a great question because I will start teaching more next year.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's it's hard to teach. I
Yeah.
found that from from doing it a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable and it's very fulfilling too. But yeah, it's hard to. Um, I realized how good my teachers had been, or
Yeah.
like how because of how hard it really is. I feel like it's a little bit um about, I guess, helping a student find his own path and
Yeah.
providing them with the tools to do it
Right. Right.
at any level. So if someone's really just starting, there's very obvious things that need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But I feel like those still apply at a higher level, and it must be. I guess it's different with each student. I mean, you want to provide maybe, hopefully, some inspiration
Right.
or make the students see something in the music that they didn't see, or
Mhm.
there's also the practical aspect of what they're doing, and
Mhm.
often there's very obvious help that you can
Right.
provide here or there, or
Right.
but I think it goes ties also a little bit with this. I feel like you can sometimes solve a technical problem with an image, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Like if you have a really clear will of what to play or what to express in your ear,
Mhm.
often your hands will find a way, or that should come first, and then
Yeah.
you need to work out how to do it with your hands.
Sure.
This problem.
Yeah.
So I try to um, encourage them to explore,
Mhm.
to know more about the music, to keep trying things, and to also learn how to listen to themselves,
Yeah.
which is also a very hard thing to do. But and often it's hard for the student to trust the teacher. Like you
Right.
often you may say something and they may say yes, but maybe they don't believe.
Mm.
So I think that when something feels right or feels better, from my experience, the student will know it, or I at least
Right.
have had it with my teachers. You sort of realize, oh, this is so. A lot of it is about giving the student information and allowing them to get there. I
Yeah.
like ultimately you should provide all the tools so that the student can do everything by themselves and learn how to listen to themselves and know what has to be worked on. But
Mhm.
it's very difficult. Obviously it's much easier to have an ear next to you that is listening only to you and is critical and knows what to change.
Yeah.
So I aim to be that person when I teach.
Right.
But I haven't taught students on the long run, and I will start doing it
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
year more,
Yeah.
and at varying levels. So it's also about, I feel, maybe um, providing goals that are attainable, sort of,
Yeah.
so that are high enough to keep them motivated, but
Yeah.
also not so high that you're completely unmotivated and
Right.
think, well, it's impossible. Because I think it's most rewarding for students when they see progress. So
Right.
it takes
Well,
a lot of adapting from a teacher, I think.
yeah, and I think it's interesting because y- I have more experience teaching privately, but you have more
Yeah,
experience teaching in master classes. And I
yeah,
think like teaching master classes is like even scarier because you have such a short amount of time.
that's
And so like
that's true.
like I'm curious like when you're listening to kids playing a master class, are you just like you have to be like really zoned in and like making sure you really have something to say or how do you feel about
Well,
that?
you're probably better at teaching than me
No, no,
because you've had many students.
no,
I
no.
don't know. I mean, master classes, they're enjoyable. I
Yeah,
find them, in a way, there's something refreshing, I guess, about listening to a student for the first time and not knowing how they actually play or what their tendencies are or something, and having this fresh take. It can be, maybe it's easier in a way because you
yeah.
don't have the responsibility of holding their hand throughout two
Right.
years
Yeah, yeah.
and making sure they actually get better at something, but that they enjoy getting better.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It's kind of exciting to do master classes, and
Yeah.
on the other hand, also, like, whatever you say, sort of will sound like it's right, from the audience perspective. That's kind of
Yeah,
that's a joke.
yeah, yeah.
It's often it could not be. Um, it's tricky because you need to make an assessment very fast
Yeah,
about what's going on,
yeah.
and sometimes you don't know for sure what's going on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I feel like the level of master classes I've given so far, it was always quite apparent what
Mhm.
could be improved to
Mhm.
me, at least. Um, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I would love to. If someone watches this video and put it in the comments, I'll
Yeah.
uh, if I was wrong. But um, what I find is it makes me think for myself too, and it actually helps me practice. I
Yeah,
learned
yeah,
how to practice sometimes from teaching because you
yeah,
have to sort of put in words something that music is so intuitive
yeah.
times, and a lot of it is things, but you don't think I'm going to play this note,
Mm.
and then you play the note. You sort of hear the note, you think how to play the note, and then you
Yeah.
play the note, but you do the
Right.
action.
Right.
So it's not like you have to say it before.
Mm.
So there's this disconnect that you need to. It's much harder to teach because you have to use that to reach the student, and then the student has to do the note. It's kind of like you were saying. There's a composer, performer, and audience.
Mm.
Between the teacher, it's
Yeah.
like composer, teacher, student,
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
It's just a whole new step that you
Yeah.
add, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
with a whole different medium.
Right.
So I found that, unlike now that I'm talking like don't stop talking, the more concise you can be with your directions,
Yeah. Yeah.
the more you may reach the student.
Yeah.
So I found that to be the main challenge, actually,
Right.
to say things in the least words possible, and to
Right.
and also I found, I think sometimes if you work, I don't know, on the first page of a Mozart sonata,
Yeah.
you obviously don't have time to work on the whole thing. You can
Mhm.
make some general, maybe one or two general comments
Right.
structurally, but a lot of it can apply to the rest of it.
Yeah.
So hopefully the aim is to give them something that they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
take for their own practice, and then
Exactly.
maybe the audience, if you're lucky, can take for their own practice
Right.
too. Or
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm curious
yeah,
because you did some teaching at Juilliard while you were an AD student, right? Or
yeah. Well, a lot of it was secondary piano.
oh, okay, okay, okay.
Actually, a lot of people will laugh, but I've done some private.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now I will at the Smith too. It's
Right.
it's yeah. I find it's also very gratifying
Yeah.
whenever, for one reason or another, the student sounds better after.
Yeah.
Um, it's yeah, it's quite, also it's quite a mysterious art to me. I don't know. Sometimes you say something that you feel like should be very obvious,
Right.
and then it doesn't get better at all, and then you say it in a different way that doesn't make sense to you, and then suddenly it sounds better
Right. Right.
at a very basic level.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's and I've learned a lot also from my teachers. I mean, I remember at some point I was observing lessons that my teacher was giving for a few weeks
Uh-huh.
to
Was it
prepare for
Mr.
something.
McDonald or
Yes, that's right,
okay.
Mr. McDonald.
Mhm.
And well, I mean, there's no better example.
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
Of course, that's at a very high level because everyone in the studio was great. It doesn't apply to most places,
Mhm.
but in a way it does.
Yeah.
Um, even in the basics. So it's hard to listen. I mean, it's hard to listen when you play, and it's hard to listen when you're teaching.
Mhm.
But it's a big part of what we do, also in chamber music, as we were
Yeah.
talking before.
Yeah.
Yeah.